Hello and welcome to this presentation. My name is David Carlos and we're going to be looking over the drone collision that happened in Buttonville Airport in Ontario. And as you know, if I'm not flying, one of the things I'm doing is teaching and instructing on drone safety and risk management. And so unfortunately with drones and with aviation in general, one of the ways we learn is by accident investigation, so we don't repeat history and so that we can learn, frankly, off of other people's mistakes in the business. Drones are relatively new. I've been flying them since 2013, and up to now I have about 3,000 hours of experience and currently fly the M300 drone. So what we're going to look at today is understanding the risks that drones pose. This is a very real risk that we have to address and we have to deal with. And so let's look into this accident investigation clearly, see what we can glean from it, and see what we can learn. What went wrong will be one question we'll look at as we go through this process. What can we learn from this accident? Things to watch out for. Is the third thing we're going to try to look for. And then also, one of the most important things is take a close look at what does task saturation mean? What does that mean to us in our business? And of course, complacency in our PAS operations. So it is the Air Transportation Safety Investigation that we're now going to look at. And here we are at the Transportation Safety Board of Canada. And anytime there is an accident or an investigation, it has to be reported to the Transportation Safety Board of Canada, which is a Transport Canada requirement. And what we have before us is a mid-air collision between a drone, which was a DJI Matrice 210, and a Cessna 172N. At the Toronto Buttonville Municipal Airport in Ontario. This happened on August 10th of 21. And I'll assume everybody has read this report. If you haven't, please read it and just go through it and really see what happened here and what we can learn from. What we have here is a police department. Now, one thing I can learn is that this is a police department. This isn't some hobbyist or a drone pilot trying to start an aerial photography business. This was a dedicated professional organization that this happened to. They, we would assume, are doing everything by the book and by the law, or they should be. They have a higher accountability. And so if something like this could happen to them, you could really conclude it could happen to any of us if we let our guard down on this issue. And so it touches a bit close to home, and I couldn't imagine a collision with a drone happening like this to me while I was in flight or in the circuit pattern. So it goes through the history, the police on a call out doing for an area where there was an incident. And this map very nicely shows you what was going on. And so as we take a look at this, there is the airport there, and there we have the collision. Right there. And there is the RPAS flight path. Another thing that stands out from this is the built-up area. Anytime you have an aircraft going down, you always not only think about the lives aboard the aircraft, but the lives of people on the ground. And this accident, as we look at it, could have been much, much worse had the aircraft gone down into this built-up area where it was flying over under 400 feet. The pilots heard this solid impact and suspected they had hit a bird like a goose or something. The airplane continued to fly normally, it says, and the pilots continued their approach to an uneventful landing. The pilots taxied back to the parking area and were shut down the airplane before exiting to assess the damage. And you can get a feel for when you get into a TSB report. It's a fine-tooth comb. No action regarding the flight of the RPAT or the Cessna will be left out, right down to the most finite detail. And there we had the RPAS pilot, that would be the police officer, phone the airport manager to report a suspected collision and verify whether the airplane had landed safely. And at that time, the airport manager had not been aware of the collision, but found out shortly after that a potential bird strike had been reported. One other thing that shows the lack of understanding here is that you'd never call the airport manager. He's not going to do you any good. You call the air traffic services or the control tower's emergency number to discuss with them the issue. After they became aware of the collision, it became clear to them that the collision had been with the ARPA, not a bird. Now, a good thing in this report, there were no injuries. Was there damage to the aircraft? Well, there we have it before us. And now this was a drone, an M200 hitting probably in one of the best spots it could have hit, because this cowling here kind of cushioned the impact of the drone downward and away from danger. Had it hit on the windscreen of the aircraft, it would have certainly penetrated through it. Or if it hit the vertical or horizontal stabilizer, it may have been enough energy to take it out. And that would have rendered the aircraft probably uncontrollable as it went into the ground. The remotely piloted aircraft was destroyed. There was the remainder of it, and there was no other damage. Now, why this story caught my attention is because of how much worse it could have been, and how this is one of the worst case scenarios we as drone pilots never ever want to see under investigation in the news or ever even remotely happening. And it begs a question: if this actually hit, how many more near misses have there been that have gone unreported, or people were simply unaware of it? So this sticks out like a sore thumb as a warning of danger that could continue to happen if we don't take corrective action and learn from this mistake. I really feel for the pilots. They were both an instructor and a student, likely doing circuits, and they were all doing everything by the book. Now, what happened here? We'll skip by the aircraft information. It was a Cessna 172er. There was the aircraft drone flying, the older Matrice, the 210. It has been taken over by the larger M300 now, but that was a drone flying at the time. Now, that drone had aircraft warning detection systems, but the Cessna we read did not have that capability. Not all aircraft have the air sense capability or compatibility, and so that was useless in the situation. The drone, of course, with the police was all registered, and the drone pilot flying was advanced certified. And let me just say that just because you're advanced certified and have that license does not in any way, shape, or form mean that you are a safe RPAS pilot ready to do operations in control zones near airports or anywhere for that matter. And that is one of the difficulties that we face in this industry, is trying to get a proper standard for people before they fly drones in airspace and create these risks and hazards. The communications was none because the RPAS pilot was not in communication with Nav Canada, even though they were in a control zone. And so we kind of step back and say that was mistake number one. The pilot flying didn't think he had to submit a report to the control zone and request authorization.